Philadelphia Eagles, Carolina Panthers,
Come on,
New
man.
York Giants, Chicago Bears. So, all right. So let's say the Cowboys, Bucs, Packers, Cardinals, and Rams. Those
Right.
solidify, right?
Yeah.
Here, which two teams make the playoffs and why? San Francisco, Washington football team, Minnesota Vikings, Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints, Philadelphia Eagles, Carolina Panthers,
Come on,
New
man.
York Giants, Chicago Bears, and the Seahawks. This is crazy. Bo, which two teams make the playoffs and why?
All right. So I'm a uh, I'm a stats it, and I'm a home team these picks, but I think Washington and San Fran get in.
Okay.
One, I think Washington with coaching, and I think we're playing well. I think we're riding some of the same momentum that we kind of pushed in last year to making the playoffs. I think we're running the ball well. We're getting enough plays made in our offense, and I think we can get in. Do I think we're gonna win a playoff game? That's another different topic. But I think we can get in. San Fran right now, I think it's catching their stride. They're showing their identity. They're showing who they are. They're getting confidence going. And I understand some of the pieces are missing, but let's not get it twisted. This is a team that made the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So and a lot of their pieces are still there. They got the formula to win. So I think they're the scariest team going down the stretch. I think they might be one of the scariest teams in the AFC going down this. NFC going down the stretch because they're catching their stride. They're physical up front. They're running the football, and now it's gonna get cold. And even if they got to go on the road, what travels? Running game and defense. So I think they're going to be a scary out in the playoffs. So I'm gonna say Washington, San Fran.
All right. This is crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen this at this point in time in the season. They're talking about a team below 500 can make it. Listen, last year that happened with the Washington football team as a divisional winner. We're talking about maybe two, right? It could be two teams under 500. This is out of bounds, man. I just never seen this. At first I heard it, I was like, nah, that's then I looked it up, I was like, oh my God, right? So I think the two Manning will make I think let's start from the bottom top. Seahawks are done. I think they're done. Unfortunately, I think it's Russell Wilson, man. I think that injury affected him too much. And this is going to be an interesting offseason. It's word swirling. I don't think he's going to be there. Either him or Pete Carroll, or if they can mend it, they got it's a lot of work to do in Seattle. The Bears, not with Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. Then you have players in the locker room are coming out saying, I don't like Matt Nagy. Done. Giants, they already fired their offensive coordinator. Done. Philadelphia Eagles is a very good one. That I just don't think they can win down the stretch because I like Hurts. I just think he's too inconsistent as a quarterback, and he just needs time in the system. Philly done. The Saints, we would be having a different conversation if they had Winston, but Taysom Hill might do it, but I didn't see enough from Taysom Hill last year to bet on him, so I'm not going to bet on him. Saints out. I already told Craig I eliminated the Panthers, so I didn't speak on them. But I just think they just have a lot going on. Cam, I love Cam, but at this point in his career, I mean, I can see if he could turn around. I just don't think that they're gonna make it. They would have had to win certain games. They wouldn't even be in this position, and they didn't. Falcons, they're just not a good team. I don't even know why they're this high. Now, Minnesota is very interesting because I think that Minnesota, if they play well down the stretch, even though they have injuries to Dalvin Cook, they wouldn't surprise me if they made it. Washington football team. This is the Washington football team's MO. They did it last year. After the bye week, their defense is playing good and they're running the ball. I'm not a fan of Heineke. I keep saying that, but right now he's, you know, playing like a decent quarterback, And then you have San Francisco who's peaking at the right time. Jim Garoppolo's healthy, George Kittle's healthy. So my listen, I think San Francisco is going to make the playoffs. And I think they're going to be a threat because they're playing, as most said, they're playing really good defense and running game. This one has me. Oh man, this one is very interesting. It's up to the Vikings and the Washington football team. Right now, I'm gonna have to lean towards the Washington football team only because the quality of wins of who they beat and the way they're doing it and is running the ball and playing good defense. And that's like Mo says, that's just like playoff success. That's like what Eagles and playoffs. I'm not gonna say they're gonna win, but I think they could, not sneak in, but get in there as a 7 seed. All right, Corey.
Washington is interesting. They have going into the year, everyone expected them to have a defense capable of making the playoffs. They have not shown that. I just feel like they blew too many games at the start of the year that they should have won to get into the playoffs at this point.
Almost blew Seattle. Corey, say it like it is.
Seattle is a mess right now. We'll get to that. For me, 3 teams really stand out to me for those 2 spots. Mm-hmm. Minnesota, San Francisco, Philadelphia.
Okay, not mad at that.
If the Niners were healthy, I would pick them. Mm-hmm. And they will have a chance to play their way into the playoffs. But for me, losing Debo is going to be big for their offense because their offense runs through Debo Samuel. And, Brandon Ayuk is starting to do something finally. Only took 9 weeks. But I don't know if they will be able to replace the production of Debo. And I know it's not season ending, but even for their next 3 games, Seattle, Cincinnati, Atlanta. Cincinnati should be the only tough game out of those 3, so they could potentially survive it. I don't know. I'm still not convinced Philadelphia is all that great a football team. But look, they've won games. They've won a few games that I didn't think they had any business even being in. And their next 4 are the Jets, the Giants, and Washington twice. Mm-hmm. Both of those New York games should be wins, and they take care of business against Washington, and they are staring at a playoff berth. They have easily the easiest path to get to the playoffs out of any of the teams in contention. And I can't imagine them blowing it, I guess.
They do. They have the easiest schedule. They do.
Yeah. The Vikings, 4 of their last 6, they should be able to win. Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago twice. And I think getting those 4 wins would get them into the playoffs. And plus, with the Vikings, every game that they have lost this year has been a 1-score game. So they haven't been blown out. They've been competitive in everything. And as Craig's mentioned multiple times, this is their year to get into the playoffs on their pattern. So I think Zimmer will be able to pull it off.
All right, Craig.
Oh man,
do you want me to say the teams again?
Nah, we good. Obviously, I'm just going to do the teams with 5 wins or more because the other 3 teams behind them don't matter at all. I mean, I don't think they have a chance. So, as far as obviously Carolina is right now sitting at 12. Like they've lost so many games that they should have won or could have won early in the season. The first 9 games they were all winnable, not all winnable, but minus like the Dallas and maybe the New England game, they were winnable, and they didn't get it done. So a lot of those teams that they lost to that are above them, Washington, Minnesota, Philly, they they don't own the tiebreaker over them, so they're out anyway. Philly, they're right now 11. I'm keeping them alive because I said last week that they have an easy schedule, and they I don't know what happened last week. That was a really stupid loss. They had won that game to be 6-6 and looking really good to make the playoffs easier than sitting at 5-7, even though the rest of the schedule is easy. New Orleans, nah, they got too many injuries. They're starting to slide in the wrong direction. Atlanta is not good. They've only seemed to be beating terrible teams who are worse than them.
I'm surprised they're that high. I am.
Yeah, me too, honestly. Minnesota, five wins. Out of 11 games, 10 of the games have been decided by one score or less. They're like the Panthers were last year. They're 4-6 in those games. So every single loss, like Corey said, has been a one-score game. The only game that they didn't have a one-score game in was a 13-point win against Seattle. So they're definitely in as well. Washington, I think, is also in the conversation. They've won 3 in a row. Terrible in the beginning. Kind of picked it up late. Some of those games, they lost 5 in a row. They could have won just like Carolina. It didn't go their way. And they still have a somewhat of a tougher, not really that tough. They pretty much just played Dallas twice and Philly twice. But the thing is that they have 5 division games to end the season. So after this Raiders game, it's 5 division games. And San Francisco, 6-5, best record out of any team on this list so far. They started to pick it up and they started to get it together lately. It's just going to have to be without Deebo Samuel. It's unfortunate because they were starting to gel on offense. Brandon Ayuk was back playing, I guess, football now. I guess, and the running game has just been up and down, in and out with different players. So that's going to be a different thing going forward, probably a week-to-week thing. But if I had to pick 2 teams that I feel confident in, I still feel confident in Philly. I know they lost last week. I think they have one of the easiest schedules left in the league. I think they only played Dallas. That's pretty much it as far as teams with a winning record. So if they can win 4 of those games, they're sitting at 9-8. And the last game of the season is against Dallas. So maybe Dallas has nothing to play for. I know you're playing your rival, but you might not even care at that point. You can't move up, you can't move down, and they might be sitting at a spot that they just
that makes sense. Yeah.
So just rest your players and move on to next week, and Philly can get in. So I think Philly gets in, and I want to say Minnesota just because they've been in so many close games, but they've lost so many close games as well that I had to lean towards San Francisco. Just looking at the schedule, they do play the Rams and they do play the Bengals. They also play Tennessee, but Tennessee has some. I don't take them seriously now. But after that loss against Jacksonville, Houston, I'm out on them. And they also get Houston at home, Atlanta at home, and Seattle at home, or not at home, but they get those teams on their schedule. So those are, to me, 4 winnable games, and they already have 6 wins, so that could push them at 10. The game against the Bengals and the Rams are going to be 2 tough games, but even the Tennessee's game is going to be a little bit tough. But I think they can get that win, and that'll be, if they can win 4 of those 6 games, they're already at double-digit wins. So I'm going San Francisco at 6, and I'm going Philly sneaking in at 7, barely above Minnesota and Washington.
So, oh man, I was about to say about San Francisco. So yeah, San Francisco and Philly, right?
Yeah.
San Francisco could. Oh, with Deebo Samuel's injury, it's a groin, but it's not major. So those groin injuries are funny. They're funny.
You can re-aggravate it.
Yeah,
pretty easily, and it's a big loss. So their offense revolves around him, and if he was healthy, I think San Francisco definitely makes the playoffs.
Yeah, and the Titans, I mean, they just put AJ Brown on IR. They have a slew of injuries, man.
They're going backwards. I don't believe
they're going backwards, man. Yeah, they're still gonna make the playoffs, I think, but they're gonna be an easy out.
Play the Titans in the first round. Whoever plays the Titans in the first round, I got them beating the Titans in the first round.
Also, the 7 seed, let Tennessee be the 2 seed.
Yeah.
They ain't getting that.
They
They got an easy schedule, but I think
they got an easy schedule. I think they're gonna lose.
They just lost.
I don't think they were a good team when they were
With Derrick Henry
7-2 or whatever. Yeah,
better than this.
they were better than this. They were
as soon as
better
Henry
than
went
this.
down, their season ended.
Houston, like,
Yeah.
They've lost to the Jets.
they lost to the Jets and Houston. Like I can't take them
They
seriously.
lost to the Jets in Houston, man. Everybody's hurt.